Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Vessel and Voice Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Charlson, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking all about the mechanics and energy behind why you feel so stuck and how you can finally get out of that loop. Let's get into it. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and we're starting a new series all about the mechanics behind energy. And this is something that I've come into the realization of recently of what makes Monty really different in the way that he shares information is that he's helping us understand the energetic mechanics behind why things are working a certain way in our lives and what we can do with our energy to begin to change it. And this realization has come over time of really working more intimately with Monty and creating this podcast together, and also watching the episodes that you seem to like the most of what gets the most reaction, the most comments that I've gotten the most email responses about. So thank you so much for helping me come to this realization about the really good work that we do together and being so supportive of this work that Monty and I produce. Today's episode is all about how we feel stuck in our lives. And this year is a really interesting year because it's a universal year 9. And what I mean by that, if you don't know anything about numerology, is if you take the numbers of 2025 and add each individual digit up, so 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5, and then reduce it down to a single digit, and you can do that for any year, you'll get the year number. And year 9 is the year of finality, the year of completion, the year of ending cycles. And we're about to go into a year 1. We're starting that cycle over. But this year is all about coming to completion. And sometimes that may feel like we're feeling very stuck, that things aren't moving because we're not starting something new. We're not moving into new energy. We're in the energy that we've been in, and we're in a releasing of patterns and what does not need to come with us into the next year. So when people tend to get stuck, they think it's that nothing external in their lives is moving. Maybe their job has stayed the same and their career movement isn't happening the way that they want. They're not getting the relationship that they feel prepared for. Their life feels like things are just not moving in the direction that they really, really desire to move towards. And it's all related to the external circumstances because inside, maybe we feel like we've changed, we've done the work, we're ready to exit out of that cocoon moment and come into that new beginning. But what Monty teaches today is a very interesting perspective on what's actually keeping us stuck. It has absolutely nothing to do with those external circumstances. And as I'm sure you've guessed it, it does have to do with what's going on the inside. So today we're exploring the stuckness of energetic looping, that pattern repeating that we seem to be stuck in, and how our external circumstances are not shifting because that loop is still there. It's basically that our energy keeps repeating the same patterning, that same looping, even though we are emotionally ready for more. And this episode is part of this new soul mechanics series that we'll be presenting to you, where we're going to explore how energy actually works and what we can do with our energy to change it so we can come more into alignment with our soul and what we desire in life. It's all about that transformation that happens at the soul level and how we can work that through the mechanics of energy. In today's channeled message, Monty explains why we may feel ready, but our energy just isn't quite there yet and what we can do about it, and how we can still repeat the same things if we don't change that energetic loop that we're in, even if the external circumstances do take on a different form. And this is one of my favorite teachings because it is also something that I have repeated many times myself, so I can see the evidence in my own life. So let's get into it with Monty. As we have said before in a previous episode, the reason why you are stuck in most cases is because your energy has yet not fully made the transformation of becoming something different. What stuckness truly is that you hold the belief logically that you are ready to move on. You are ready for changes in your life. And yet your energy is still in a state of being attached to being something other than what you want to be. For example, what we mean by this is, say, for example, you wish to find a new career. You are very done with the career that you are currently in, and you are very frustrated with your current career. Every single time you go to work and engage with your current job and the things that you do, you feel a sense of disease inside of yourself. You feel frustration and anger that you are still stuck in this career that you do not want. You can hold the vision of the career that you want within your energy. You can feel it. You can sense it. And yet, you have not made the transformation yet of who you become when you transition to this new career. This is why you feel that sense of stuckness. Stuckness is truly the frustration at that your external reality has not changed to reflect your internal desires. It is not changed to reflect your internal state of being because your state of being is still very in your old way. You are showing up to work with the energy that motivated you to seek out a different career. But it is at a culmination point where it has continued to build over a time until it gets to this peak where every single time that you engage with your work, with your career, you feel a sense of frustration and anger and strong emotions that have been building over a long period of time. This is a continuation of who you have been being, not the becoming that you wish to have. And this is why you often feel stuck, is that you say, I am doing everything in my power. I am applying for all the jobs. I am retraining for this new career. I am writing visions of what I want and dreaming of it consistently, talking about it, spending all of this time on it. And yet, when you are at work, engaging in your current job, you are calling back the exact emotions that motivated you to leave it in the first place. You are calling in the energy and being the energy that you are wishing to leave. And that is why you continue to be stuck. Stuckness is that energy is not flowing. You are repeating the same patterns over and over and over. Until you stop repeating these patterns by breaking the loop, you will continue to repeat them. And even if the conditions change, you will continue to repeat them yet again. So it could be that you do find the new job and yet you get to it, into the new career, and you find that after a period of time, even though you are engaging in a new environment and new energies and collaborating with different people and different projects that you are working on, eventually you start to repeat the same patterns. You start to feel the same anger and frustration, and even sometimes the same problems happen in new formats over and over again. You did not complete the energetic transformation necessary, and you are repeating the same energetic loop just in a new condition. Your energy dictates how you feel. Your energy dictates how stuck you feel. And until your energy returns to its natural flow, you will continue to feel stuck even if the conditions change. Even if you get into the thing that you are visualizing and dreaming about so much that you will repeat these patterns again. So, in order to truly get unstuck, to not continue repeating these patterns in new conditions, it is important to identify what the pattern is that you are engaging in energetically. Very often, there is something outside of you that is triggering this consistent pattern. For example, again, returning to you go to work and you are frustrated by your job. The trigger is your appearance and involvement in the conditions. You believe that the conditions are leading to the energetic pattern, but all it is a trigger within yourself that sets off that consistent route of using the energy in a certain way.
You are taking in the energy of your workplace and repeating the same patterning. You will do this by leaving and then repeating the same pattern and continue your stuckness. So, identifying the pattern, acknowledging when it is triggered is also another way that you can see, this is the trigger, this is the pattern. Separating those two, the trigger is not the issue, it is the pattern that is the issue. Investigating the pattern then of saying, what am I being? What am I being energetically when this occurs? And making the conscious decision to change that energetic patterning of saying, despite that this trigger happens, I am going to identify the version of myself that I want to become in my envisioned new career and understand that this same energy could show up in a different format. How would that future version of me work with this energy? Not the format, but the energy itself. So identifying then the energy of the issue that is bothering you and changing the way that you interact with it to allow yourself to come into that future version that you want to become. And you will find that as you do this, the triggers no longer trigger you. Instead, they trigger you into being who you want to be instead of being frustrated and stuck. That you get to be the version of yourself despite that the conditions have not changed. That the triggers that once resulted in negative energetic loops have transformed into positive ones. And as this occurs, and that you are being the version of yourself that you want to become, you will attract to yourself the opportunities that you have been waiting for. And then you will be able to take those opportunities and change more completely your conditions, and yet you remain the same. You do not change with conditions. You are the same being regardless of the conditions that you are in. It is changing those stuck patterns of energy, those loops that you are repeating, that allows you to change. And then when the conditions change, you get to come even more into that version of who you are. You get to allow yourself to work with new energies and to even more greatly improve those energetic patterns by involving new energies. And when the old energies come up in the old patterns, yet again, have transformed into new ways that you interact with energy. You will continue to be stuck until you allow the triggers that negatively affect you to positively affect you, to instead allow you to come into the fullness of what you wish to become. It is not easy, and we are not saying that it is as well spiritual bypassing of saying something negative happened, I am going to ignore it. No, it is something negative happened, and I am going to be the version of myself that I am envisioning and responding and interacting to that energy in the way that version of me would, rather than this version of me. Spiritual bypassing would ignore it, not engage with it, but that is not the goal, because it will come in a different format and ask you to engage with it then. And then you will repeat the same old loop because you did not change the loop of energy and patterning. We hope this clarifies how you can begin to become unstuck. That is all.
I think the most important part that Monty shared in today's channeling is that Our energy is what frees us from feeling stuck, not the circumstances, not the external validation that we've changed, not the way that the form has changed in our life, but that the interior is different. We are being a different version of ourselves. And it comes with that idea of the external circumstances don't dictate who we're being. We just have a relationship with them, but we still have to be ourselves fully and completely, regardless of those circumstances. And that even if the circumstances change, if we're not being in alignment with who we really are, we're going to end up still repeating those same patterns and getting the same results just in different circumstances. So you can ask yourself a little bit today of the patterns that you keep repeating. What are things that, regardless of the circumstances, have shown up for you of patterns, emotions, or habits that you've done time and time again? These are little breadcrumbs for you to go back through and think of different events in your life and who you were being that caused these different breadcrumbs to happen and how you reacted to those different situations. When you start to notice those different patterns, you're going to start to see how you've actually wanted to outgrow, but that your energy is still stuck within that same loop. And this is what it actually means to be stuck, is that your energy is consistently repeating that same loop over and over again, even if those external circumstances have changed. And the question becomes, instead of, if the circumstances change, I get to be someone different. How can I be someone different regardless of the circumstances that I'm in? How can I be the person that is not triggered by these external circumstances, that uses these circumstances to dictate my internal state of being, but rather to be consistently myself, regardless of what is happening around me? And that is how we get our energy unstuck, because that's when we realize, hey, this are all evidence. Because then we realize these are all different things that are evidence of the ways I have not been myself. I am not being fully embodied in my soul energy. And when we start to shift those patterns, the conditions start to line up around us so that way we can live more easily in alignment. And I can see this demonstrated in my own life, that although I have shifted and am in the process right now of really changing my career from working in marketing and owning a marketing agency to running a channeling spiritual business, there's still many patterns that I did in the marketing agency in very different circumstances that I'm still repeating now. Like, for example, I really struggle with wanting to have a system for everything so that way I can follow it and that things follow the exact flow every single time. But as you would probably realize at this point, channeling doesn't always work that way. Channeling is very free flowing and sometimes needs a very different format, and systems don't always help it. So it's also this understanding of what is in me that's triggering that. What is the thing that I need to work on? And what I've identified is a sense of safety. I use systems to help me create a sense of safety when I feel like I can't be in control. So it's understanding that that is not the state of being I want to be. I want to be someone that feels safe and self-contained and self-sovereign regardless of the circumstances, rather than having to have everything in tiny little systems that are managed all the time so that way I can feel that sense of safety. It's not that systems aren't useful or that they aren't warranted in my work, but rather the reasons why I'm using them and that drive to create systems is coming rather out of a sense of ease and flow, rather than one out of trying to create safety for myself so that way I can feel more in control. And as you can tell, that idea of surrender has shown up in many different ways in my life, which I've talked about on other episodes of the podcast. I hope that this teaching today has helped you come to a deeper understanding of maybe where you're feeling stuck in your life and what patterns you may be repeating, even if the circumstances are different. If you'd like more teachings like this, these are the types of things we work through in the Awakened Authenticity community. Every month, Monty picks a theme that we work through collectively with weekly messages, meditations, and channeled guidance to help us integrate what we learn about and actually take it and use it in a practical way. And if this episode helps support you, please share it with somebody who's also in a big life transition right now. Because we're all in a year 9, it's a year of big transitions and also feeling like we're quite stuck. But things are about to change very soon as we are headed into a year 1 and we'll be there before we know it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.